Hello everyone, and welcome back to the second episode of Your Opinion is Shit, the show where I ask my patrons a question once a month and they respond with their worst opinions possible. This month, we've got some doozies! Oh boy! So if you too would like to once a month give me your shit opinions and have me steamroll over them, you can follow the link right up there. I can actually do that now. More about that in a minute. To my Patreon. And yeah, donate $5 more a month and you get to answer the question. $10 more a month gets you the right to vote on what the next one should be. So, one important announcement before we begin. I figured I'd plop this at the beginning of this video just so I can get it as many places as possible. You might notice I can do links now. You might also notice there's an ad at the beginning of this video. That's because thanks to all of the hard work of you guys watching my videos and subscribing and all that good shit, I'm now monetized. I reached 1,000 subscribers last Saturday, and thanks to all of you guys just watching the videos, sharing them around, I just blew past the 4,000 hours watch time. So, I just heard back from YouTube like yesterday. I'm now officially monetized. In order to celebrate reaching 1,000 subscribers and monetization, I figured that I would move the weekly live stream over from the other channel to this channel this week. So I hope you'll join me at 7 EST on Saturday as I rate anime studios. I'm gonna tier list anime studios because why would I tier list anime when I could tier list the studios that made them? I'm a nerd. In case you couldn't tell. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'll probably answer a couple questions, whatever, while I'm there, because I know this is the first time that many of you will be interacting with me live. So that'll be super exciting, and I'm super happy to meet a bunch of new faces. I'll be announcing this a couple other places, so hopefully I'll see a lot of you there. Without further ado, let's get into it. The question I asked this month was, what is the most overrated anime? Overwhelmingly, for some reason, the answers were popular shonen anime. I don't know why. I was expecting stuff like the harem of the week, or Sword Art Online. Somebody did say Sword Art Online, but then they changed their answer. So this video is gonna be controversial. Anyway, let's get into it. Our first question is from Kronos. And they say, Inuyasha. After watching it for a while and getting a feel for it, it was basically Sesshomaru, don't know if that's spelled correctly, glowers and is evil somewhere. Monster somehow created by him or something gets all angry and the heroes need to kill it. Inuyasha says, Kigome! a dozen times, while Kigome simultaneously says, Inuyasha! a dozen times. They resolve to keep chasing Sesshomaru, but never ever seem to ever catch up with him. Repeat until long past my ability to care. Yeah, so I've only seen a tiny little bit of Inuyasha. Haven't seen a bunch of it. I've heard some people say it's their favorite anime ever and that they love it and that they will never let it go. I have a coworker who loves Inuyasha. She'll be very sad to hear this. But I've also heard a lot of people say similar remarks to what you said. It seems like Inuyasha is a very Monster of the Week heavy anime, and it came from a time when anime had a lot of episodes. Specifically, it came from a time when anime had so many episodes that it would outpace the manga and would have to come up with filler in order to fill in the gaps from the manga so that the manga could get ahead. And this leads to a lot of really pointless episodes that basically just grind the wheel and seem to just say the same thing over and over again. I, of course, can't actually formulate an opinion on Inuyasha, because the only thing I could say is, it looks old and move on, and I'm not gonna do that, that's dumb. But, at the same time, Monster of the Week can be done very well. Supernatural managed to do it for a good 3 seasons before they finally moved towards a more plot-based structure and everybody hated it. Police procedurals have seasons upon seasons upon seasons of essentially what boils down to Monster of the Week episodes. Buffy did it for a good 8 seasons. But if it's done wrong, if it's done poorly, if it's the same monster, essentially, over and over again, yeah, that can get pretty boring, and I can see absolutely why you might think that. So that's Kronos. We're gonna move on to Claude. I have never once in my life found a single storyline in Dragon Ball interesting. Strongman has to punch a bad guy even harder this time. So Claude, when you get into a voice call with Jax in the next month to record stuff for Higurashi, you're gonna get your ass beat. Unfortunately, sorry, Jax, I do have to kind of agree with you. Dragon Ball has a big problem with power escalation. So, from what I'm aware of, I've watched a couple videos on Dragon Ball. I've seen some episodes of Dragon Ball that used to be on 4Kids TV when I was a child. I was primarily there for Mew Mew Power and Do Re Mi, but every once in a while, and Yu-Gi-Oh, of course, but every once in a while I would end up catching an episode of Dragon Ball Z while waiting for those other shows to come on. And yeah, so the first incarnation of Dragon Ball, OG Dragon Ball, is very much based on Goku having to kind of squirm his way out of situations. In the original Dragon Ball, from what I'm aware of, he much more resembles his not namesake, but his archetypal character. Son Goku is based off of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King from Journey to the West. He even has the monkey tail in the original. And Sun Wukong's whole thing is that even though Sun Wukong is the most overpowered fucking badass in the entire fucking world, there's a lot of things that hold him back. A lot of times people don't believe him when he says shit because Monkey's a mischief maker. A lot of the time he meets opponents that are just as strong as he is, if not stronger, because there's a lot of overpowered badasses in Journey to the West. A lot of times his companions are kidnapped, which means that he has to be cautious because otherwise the demons will just eat and kill them. So Sun Wukong has to use his brain, he has to use his wits, he has to use all his magic powers at his disposal, and it kind of seems like an OG Dragon Ball, that's kind of the case. The problem is that we get to Dragon Ball Z and Super Saiyan is introduced. And the first time Super Saiyan is used, it's pretty cool. It's a super overpowered form. That's awesome. Then you run into the problem that any time now Goku runs into a problem, the audience is going to ask, well, why doesn't he just go Super Saiyan? Because you never gave him an appropriate block or an appropriate reason to not always use Super Saiyan. So then they have to come up with enemies that are stronger than Super Saiyan. But then if the enemy is stronger than Super Saiyan, how do you beat it? So then you have Super Saiyan or whatever. And like Claude said, strong man has to punch bad guy even harder this time. So unfortunately, Dragon Ball ran into the issue where it ended up having to just be this constant escalation of even more powerful form. And that turned a lot of people off to it, I think. There are still many fans of Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is one of the most popular franchises in the world. But in this case, Claude, your opinion is not shit. I entirely agree with you. Moving on to Davcav. I'll likely get flack for saying this, but it's Naruto. Never have I seen a shonen drop the ball so hard, from undermining the message of hard work overcomes adversity by making the lead character related to almost every important historical figure and also God, to Naruto's unhinged obsession over Sasuke, despite being told to fuck off multiple times because he's his nakama, to letting terrorists and Nazi scientists off scot-free, and even ruining every event that has ever took place in the story by having a schmuck from the sidelines come out and literally say, "It's me, Austin!" Yeah, put the meme there. There's honestly a lot more, but we'd be here all day. I really don't fully understand why it's still held in high regards besides nostalgia and cool fight scenes. So, what I will say about Naruto is that it is a part of the big three shonen works. Those also include Bleach and One Piece, because there was a time in the early 2000s when manga and anime was first kind of becoming a little more popular in the West, when with the advent of the internet, people were starting to have slightly more access to stuff like this. With Toonami and stuff like that, these shows were finally coming to the West appropriately. And this was all people had seen of anime. This was like a lot of people's first anime, along with Dragon Ball, which is kind of a pseudo fourth member of this big shonen group. Bleach, One Piece, and Naruto were the first anime that a lot of people had ever seen. Especially the first shonen anime. Shonen anime are hype, they're exciting. If you're a kid, you don't always have the highest standards. So a lot of people hold Naruto in very high regard because of the nostalgia factor, essentially, because it was their show as a kid. Now, of the big three, I guess Bleach recently got a comeback, but for the most part, One Piece is the only one still standing. One Piece is one of the most popular series in the entire world. We'll get to One Piece in a minute. But of the three, the ranking, it seems, of, hey, how good were these shows actually, is One Piece at the top, Bleach at the bottom, Naruto in the middle. I have not seen a lot of Naruto at all. I only know it through Naruto x Sasuke memes, mostly. But what I will say is that a lot of people I know had a lot of problems with it, especially in a lot of these seasons where, again, there was a lot of filler because they were waiting for the manga to catch up. I can't really, unfortunately, comment on a lot of the things you've said here. I do think it's really funny that you specifically made mention of Naruto's unhinged obsession over Sasuke. That was the introduction for a lot of young women to yaoi. And I think the author realized this and absolutely played it up. But again, it's another show that a lot of people do have some problems with. Can't agree or disagree with you, but that's my 2 cents on the matter. Next, we're getting right to it. For Noah, One Piece. Started watching. It is dreadful. I mean, it's a complete snooze fest so far. I don't know how people get through the first 100 episodes. Noah, again, please never be in a room with Jax. He will destroy you. He likes One Piece more than Dragon Ball. What I will say about One Piece, again, it's something that I only know about secondhand, but I was friends with a guy in high school, Jax Tharp, you all know him as one of my voice actors, he plays Oishi in Higurashi, who would obsessively sit down and tell me so much about One Piece because nobody else would talk to him about One Piece. And so he would sit down and talk to me about it for ages. And One Piece, from everything I've heard from Jax and from everybody else out there, One Piece is one of those shows that gets better. One Piece is one of those shows that starts out very low stakes, very goofy, very odd, and the further you get into it, the cooler it gets, the more serious it gets. I've heard, primarily from fans of One Piece, that its greatest strength is its world building. That there's, at every island the characters visit, there's so many interesting characters they meet, there's so many interesting concepts they come across, and that only gets better and better as the series goes on. Now, I'm not going to argue that point, but Noah's point here is that he started watching it and couldn't finish it. So the question isn't really, does One Piece get good or is One Piece good? The question is it worth sitting through 100 episodes for One Piece to get good? And in this YouTuber's opinion, I'm someone who really likes slow burn narratives. I am not someone who really cares if a story takes forever to get going. The House and Fata Morgana is one of my favorite pieces of fiction ever written, and that story takes 15 to 20 hours to get going. But as far as One Piece is concerned, I think that, in my very uneducated opinion, I think that from what I've heard about it and everything, that 100 episodes is probably too much. It's probably too much of a commitment. Considering how long One Piece is, I think One Piece in general is probably too much of a commitment. 16-year-old me is sobbing right now because 16-year-old me was like, brevity, that's for losers. Be as wordy as you possibly can. Make stories that are 200,000 words long. And still have to cut out a bunch of stuff because it's getting too long. But there's a point where it's too long. One Piece might be too long. I don't know. Again, can't form any concrete opinions, but that's my 2 cents. Finally getting into something that I can 100% comment on. This is technically for the immutable avian. This is Windy Fields Ventus Agri. We all know him. Anybody who's been on the Discord server, we all know Windy Fields. Gotta be honest, I've never actually watched Evangelion. I'm just deeply familiar with the memes. Technically, Ventus, you did answer my question. You never said that Evangelion was overrated, you just said you hadn't watched it. However, I'm going to take this to mean that you think Evangelion is overrated, and we can no longer be friends. I am a huge fan of Evangelion. However, I can very, very clearly say that I do not have quote-unquote nostalgia goggles over Evangelion, because the first time I watched Evangelion all the way through was when I was 19. So, Evangelion is not like an anime from my childhood or anything like that. It's something I watched in the last 5 years for the first time. And since then, I've watched it like 3 times. Evangelion is a masterpiece. Now, I know that's said about a lot of things. I've come across a lot of stories, a lot of fiction where people have said, oh my god, this is like the best thing ever. And I've watched it or I've read it and I've gone, it's good, but it's not the best thing ever. I can name things that are way better than this off the top of my head that you could even compare to this. As far as Evangelion goes, I think the reason why so many people love Evangelion is that it is incredibly easy to relate to. So like, for instance, as I mentioned before, I'm a huge fan of the visual novel The House and Fata Morgana. Now, a lot of people share my opinion where they say The House and Fata Morgana is a masterpiece. I've seen many people say it's slow, it's boring, I don't care. Because The House and Fata Morgana is a story that can't connect to just anyone the way it did to me. I connected to The House and Fata Morgana for a very specific reason. I'll inevitably make a video about it. I'm not going to get into it here. I know a lot of people who connected to the House of Fata Morgana for a couple of different, very specific reasons. But I know a lot of people that it bounced off of. Evangelion is not like that, because Evangelion talks about a feeling, an emotion, a state of being that almost every single person on this planet has experienced. Every single person on this planet has at one point experienced loneliness, experienced isolation, experienced depression. Almost every single person on this entire planet has at one point felt alone, has felt like they are incapable of being loved, has felt like nobody likes them, has felt like they're just a burden on everyone. Regardless of if you have clinical depression, regardless of if you have seasonal depression or just environmental depression, like I have occasionally in my life, or even if you've never been depressed ever. I think almost everyone can relate to the themes of Evangelion. And I think that's why it's so beloved. I think that's why everybody loves it. So what I will say to you, Ventus, is what I said to Mice Man when he started sending me Evangelion memes. Wait, you haven't actually seen Evangelion? Holy shit, you would actually really like it. Please go watch it. That's not actually, I shouldn't say please. Ventus, go watch it. That goes to everybody out there. Everybody out there would love the shit out of Evangelion. Ventus, your opinion is shit. Moving on to our final comment from Xavier Pena. The most overrated anime is Fullmetal Alchemist. Okay. We're not gonna get angry. Xavier, I love you. You're making me angry. It's a great anime. Okay. And I can appreciate the story that still holds up well all these years later, but the way people talk about it as if all other anime pale in comparison is baffling to me. There are other shows that are just as good, if not better. Also, the way some people genuinely believe you can't enjoy or even watch anime unless you've seen FMA gets really annoying after a while, especially when considering that some of its darker themes obviously won't resonate with everyone. Okay, you had me in the first half, not gonna lie. I actually don't disagree with this. The last time I saw Fullmetal Alchemist was my senior year of high school, so it's been a couple years since I've watched it. But from what I remember, Fullmetal Alchemist is an incredibly good anime. I think it's one of the best anime ever made, but I do agree with you, Xavier, that it is not. A lot of people will claim it is the best anime ever made. That goes to Evangelion. Shut the fuck up, Ventus. No, I think it's really hard to name one best anime ever made. And I agree that everybody has different tastes. Everybody has different things they like. So for a majority of the shonen watching anime community, Fullmetal Alchemist is one of the best anime ever made. But there's a whole community of people who watch romance anime, or who watch slice of life anime, or cute girls doing cute things anime. None of which I really like, but you do you, man. And a lot of those people will probably not think that Fullmetal Alchemist is the best anime ever made. And I really, really hate when communities get that way, where they go, oh, well, this is the titular anime. You are not a fan of this medium if you haven't watched this. Because anime's broad. There's so much fucking anime out there. I think that you're not an anime fan if you haven't seen The Great Pretender, but like 5 people have seen The Great Pretender. So like nobody's an anime fan, I guess. And I've not seen a lot of shows that, you know, people also claim, you know, oh, you can't be an anime fan. You've seen in this video. I haven't watched Naruto, One Piece, or Dragon Ball, really, which are considered also some of the biggest anime in the world. And I haven't seen any of them. So actually, Xavier, this comment really wasn't about Fullmetal Alchemist. It was about that tendency of people to overhype the shit out of things and claim that they're the best thing ever. And to that side of your opinion, and even to the fact that Fullmetal Alchemist gets overhyped, yeah, I agree with you. Your opinion is not shit. If you had said for 1 second that Fullmetal Alchemist wasn't good, I would murder you. Special thanks go out to my Priests of the Hog and my Elder Hog Prophets, Aedra, Chronoton, Eshok7, Jonathan Hummel, Casey and Moore, Ventus Agri, and Xavier Pena. And thank you to everyone else out there as well who's donated any money or watched my videos at all. Have a great day.